Hello everyone and welcome to my first ever tutorial. In this tutorial I'll be showing you how to draw this charcoal candle, starting from the outlines and then shading it with charcoal. So I use soft, medium and hard charcoal pencils, a kneaded eraser, a normal eraser and a pencil. I use NIC Pro 0.7 but you can use any pencil you want. I also use blending stumps, but any blending tool is okay. So first I start with this basic line to make sure that the candle is straight. Then I draw this rectangle. Make sure to draw this all very lightly because it will mostly be erased later. You can now draw this weird curvy thing on the top. If it's hard, you can pause the video and just copy what I'm doing. You can also look at the reference on the top right corner if that's useful for you. Okay, now we can start making the sketch for the wax strips. So start with these circles. You can see from the reference or from how I'm doing it. Do this lightly because they will be erased later. And then before we draw the other ones, let's draw the base of the holder. So draw this curved line at the bottom of the candle and connect it with the other side. Okay, you can now finish drawing the base of the holder. Just copy what I'm doing right here, it's pretty easy. And draw another curved line at the bottom of the first one that we did. This helps the drawing look a bit more 3D. Okay, now we can finish drawing the circles for the wax strips. After you've done that, you can connect the circles with these lines. Don't make them too straight because they won't look natural. You can add some curves. Okay, so before we draw the outlines for the wax strips, we can sketch the guidelines for the wick where the flame sits. And then we can draw the flame. It's two simple curved lines that meet each other at the top. Now you can erase all the guidelines for the candle, just don't erase the wax strip guidelines. We will still need those. Now we can start with the outlines for the wax strips. Just follow the guidelines that we sketched before and make sure that the outline is not straight and it's pretty curvy. As I said before, this makes it look more natural. Also, the part where the circle is slightly wider, as you can usually see in water drops, and yeah. Also, the part where the holder is also slightly wider because it's a flat surface and not vertical like the candle. Then just do this for all the wax strips. And once you're done with that, you can just erase the guidelines that we sketched inside the wax strips. Now I'm drawing the outlines in the shape of the wick where the candle flame sits. It's pretty simple, it's just two curved lines, and the middle is the thinnest part. Just copy what I'm doing or what's on the reference. You can erase the guideline that's inside the wick. Okay, and this is the outlines for your candle. If you don't want to shade it in with charcoal, this is where you can stop. But I'm going to continue the tutorial with the charcoal. I like to pass my kneaded eraser over the drawing. You don't have to do this if you don't have a kneaded eraser, but I would recommend it. Once you've made it more light, still visible obviously, you can get your soft charcoal pencil and outline the whole candle. Just the outside part though, not the inside. Okay, so I marked the places where you have to shade it in dark. These are just the base colors. We will do the actual shading a bit later with the blending stump. Just the parts that I marked, make them very dark, like black. Okay, the areas that I marked here, you can shade them in a slightly lighter shade of black, so like medium gray. Okay, and here where I marked it, make it pretty light, like a normal gray. Don't worry if the shading isn't looking so good right now. This is completely normal because this is a kind of a trust the process type of drawing. It will look way better later when we start with the blending stump and shade everything in properly. In the area where I wrote light, just leave it white for now. We will shade that in very lightly later. Here you can outline the wick where the flame sits and shade in the middle part quite dark, and it gets gradually lighter as it reaches the edges of the wick. You can now shade the this part very lightly, just like I'm doing here. And now just pass your pencil very lightly over the part where I marked as light. This helps with the blending later on. can shade in the middle of the base colors. Don't make it too light, not too dark, just kind of somewhere in the middle of the base colors. Yeah. Okay, now before we start blending with the blending stump, just pass your charcoal pencil, I use the soft one, over the whole drawing, just not the wax strips. Now you can get the blending stump and just start blending a bit everywhere where the charcoal shading part is. I like going from the middle of the base colors and shading that part first, then softly shading the base colors to make it look a bit more waxy. If it's not looking good, it's okay, you can erase it. Well, the part is not looking good, or just go over it again with the charcoal pencil. If it's easier for you to understand, you can, or if you get confused easily, you can just go over the outlines of the wax strips and then start shading them like I'm doing right here. So basically the part that's more underneath is darker. If you know how shading works, or if you've already studied that, then it'll be quite easy for you to understand, or else I probably recommend watching another tutorial on shading before you get into this. So the areas that are pointing more to the left, I leave them a bit lighter, and then the areas more to the right are darker, obviously. And also the areas like here that I'm shading this in, it's darker now, because it's underneath the wax strip on top of it. Same for the one that I'm doing here, which sits right on top of the bottom one. So one of my tips is that when you shade some place that's darker, you want to bring it up to the light very slowly, like not two base colors. Just first pass over it with your pencil hard, and then slowly go softer. What I do is I usually don't leave that many areas like white from the paper, just the areas that are very highlighted, because this makes the drawing look a bit too flat. Once you're done shading the wax strips, you can get your blending stump and start blending them in, just like we did for the candle. Remember that the areas that are on the left side of the candle are less shaded and more highlighted. Okay, so I like using this electric eraser. You don't have to use it if you don't want to, it's just to your comfort, if you have it and if you want to use it. Okay, so now we can start shading the flame and the top part of the candle. So this part isn't too shaded because it's right underneath the flame, which is the light source, but it's still a bit darker since it's deeper. So just shade it very softly with your soft charcoal pencil, and then you can start shading the edges of the flame very softly too. After that, you can grab your blending stump and just start blending everything in. Now you can shade the part that I'm showing you here very, very dark. Then right under the candle, you can shade it in black, slowly going lighter as it reaches the outside of the holder. Then you can blend it all in, and if it's looking too dark on the edges, you can erase the charcoal. Okay, so now we're moving on to the stand part of the holder. So the place that I marked here, you can just shade it all in black. Once you're done with that, you can just shade the parts that we did not shade in black yet a bit lighter, shading from the black to light. You can now blend it all together. Just leave the edges white, because that's where the light is. After you did that, you can just make the middle part a bit darker to give this 3D effect. Your candle is basically finished. Now we're just going to shade the outside part to make it look even better and give the illusion that the candle is actually lighting up the room. So the part that I marked that is closest to the candle, you can just shade it all in black. The parts that are even closer to the candle are obviously a bit darker, and then gradually becomes lighter. Okay, so this part is pretty easy. You just have to gradually make the dark become light, and remember that the bottom part of the drawing is darker because it's the farthest point from the light, from the flame. Yeah, so you can fast forward this part of the video if it's easy for you, or if it's still hard, you can follow my lead and do what I do. Yeah. I don't know if you can see it, but I marked the places where it becomes significantly lighter. If it's easier for you, you can use those as a reference. When you reach this point, you can just pass your pencil over the areas that are still white. And don't worry if it's not looking good yet, we'll use the blending stump. That will change the entire look of the background. Okay, once the entire background is finished, you can get your blending stump. I use the biggest one I have, because it works faster, but anything is okay. And just start blending. Go from the dark to the light, and if the blending stump gets dirty and the parts that are light are getting too dark, you can just clean your blending stump and continue. If you don't want to blend this part or just don't have a blending tool, it's okay. You can just focus a bit more on the shading with the actual charcoal pencil and don't blend the background. It will still look good. It's just that I like blending the background. I like the illusion it gives, but if you don't want to, it's totally okay, and it will still look good. So we're almost done with the drawing. You just have to add the small details if you want to. So just grab your charcoal soft pencil and add these little lines or shapes wherever you want on the background. This is the end result. I hope this tutorial helped, and if it did, I would be happy to make more. Thanks for watching!